Hello everyone! It's time to download your neighborhood hacker's favorite arsenal, Kali Linux. Let's begin by opening up a browser and navigating to the Kali Linux homepage. Select the download option and then select the installer image box. Select the recommended 64-bit installer image. Most computers are 64-bit, but you can check your PC to determine if you need the 64 or 32. Now that we have our Kali image, let's open up our VMbox application. I'm using Oracle. Find the blue icon that says New and select it. Here we can name our new VM. For the sake of simplicity, we'll name it Kali. Now we need to select our ISO image by clicking on the ISO image tab and then scrolling down to our Kali file. Select it and click Next to continue. Here we'll add our base memory, also known as RAM, to the VM. The amount of processors you have will also determine how smoothly your tasks run as well. So like RAM, the more the better. Alright, let's click Next to continue. Here, let's make sure that the Create a Virtual Hard Disk option is selected. Allocate as much space as your host PC will allow. Check your configurations once more, then click Finish. With our Kali VM highlighted, click on the orange Settings cog. Under General, click on the Advanced tab. Change the Shared Clipboard and Drag and Drop options to Bidirectional. This allows you to copy and paste from your host computer to your VM, and vice versa. Next, under Settings, select the System tab. Then select the Motherboard tab. Change the boot order to show hard disk at the top by selecting hard disk so that it's highlighted and then clicking the upward facing arrow. Click that until the hard disk is at the top of the list. This will tell the VM to boot Kali from the hard disk. Before we close this out, we can go back to the left side of the settings box and select the display option. We'll bump our video memory all the way to the end of the green. The scale factor will determine how large your VM screen is displayed on your host computer. So you can play around with that a little bit later, but for right now, we'll just set it up between 300 and 350. Under the Network tab, Ensure NAT is selected. This will allow your VM to connect to the internet. The User Interface tab is generally set up properly already, but you can play around with the settings later on to determine how you would best like your VM to display across your host screen. After ensuring all your settings are done correctly, go ahead and click OK. And now it's time to complete the setup by selecting the green start arrow, making sure that your Kali VM is highlighted. Once the setup screen is loaded, if necessary, use your arrow keys on your keyboard to navigate to the graphical install option and press Enter. On these next steps, using your mouse or the arrow keys on your keyboard, select your preferred language and then select Continue. Now select your country location, then Continue, and then select your keyboard language and hit Continue. Here we're going to give our VM a host name. This is how it will be recognized on the network. For the domain name, it says you can make something up, so I will put my host name at local since this will just be for my own personal use. I don't expect to send any email from it, but you never know. You don't necessarily have to use your real name here, especially if you don't want it sent out in emails. So I'm just going to put the same host name here. Same thing here for my username. I'm just going to use the host name to keep things simple. Now it's time to set up your password, and please, please, please choose a good password. A minimum of 8 characters, at least 1 capitalized letter, 1 special character, and a number. You know the deal. Now you can select your time zone and then select continue. Select the option for guided, use entire disk, and then hit continue. We only have one option to select, and that's the hard disk. And again, we will choose the option that is recommended. Finally, we will finish partition and write to disk and continue. And then we will select the yes option and continue again. We're going to go ahead and continue with the default options. We're going to leave yes selected so that we can install the Grub bootloader. Without the bootloader, the VM will not work properly. So we want to make sure that we do install that, and we'll go ahead and select continue. We're not going to choose enter device manually. We're going to go down to our hard disk partition and select that so we can continue the install. Everything looks good so far, so we'll go ahead and hit continue. You can go ahead and hit enter on the first Kali Linux option. If you wait too long, it'll automatically select that first option for you and load up your VM. We can now log in using our username and password that we created earlier. And voila! Kali Linux has virtually every tool you can think of. Burp Suite for manipulating web page requests, Hashcat, and John the Ripper for cracking hashes. If you want to join CTFs, or if you want to hack, ethically of course, or if you just want to get more hands-on with Linux and cybersecurity things in general, then Kali is your one-stop shop.